Happy Monday. Welcome to the Real Talk Podcast. I'm Andrea Castanetti. Today we are talking all things getting licensed. Every week I'm getting messages galore saying, where do I start? How do I start? So nothing better than bringing Luis Garcia from eXp Realty in. He is the owner of Champion Real Estate Academy. And my friend AJ Bruce from LaMacchia Realty to tell his story. Side note, we ended up getting our license together about 7 or 8 years ago. So we're going to tell our story of coming from completely separate industries, how we found Luis, where we got started, and where we are today. So, first of all, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, I think the biggest question people ask, how do I get licensed? They go Google, they see 8,000 real estate schools. I mean, I know we did it. We'll talk about how we even found Luis from the start. But how do people find you, and what is Champion Real Estate Academy?
Yeah, so Champion Real Estate Academy is, and that's funny that you mention how they find it, because one of the ways that I came up with the name is I went onto the board website, right? So if you go to like mass.gov and you look up, real estate schools out there, and I started going through the names, and there was so many names, and after like I got to D, and I'm like, I don't want to look anymore, right?
Right.
So I need something between A and D where people
Smart.
can stop, midway. And I have a Taekwondo background. My wife, they own a Taekwondo studio, so we always came up with the term champion, as far as like, you want to be a champion when you're training and all that good stuff. So I said, well, champion. I'm like, all right, so we're gonna do champion, and then so I came up with Champion Real Estate Academy of Massachusetts, because if you take the first letter of each word, it kind of spells out cream. So I was gonna do something with like you're the cream of the crop, or
I love
something,
it. I didn't
something
know that.
like
Like
that,
an
right?
NWA
Yeah,
reference.
like just something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, Wu-Tang,
Yeah.
right?
No, it was Wu-Tang.
Right,
My
right.
apologies.
So that's what we came up with that. But yeah, I mean, so in theory, you just you look up, type in real estate school, you'll probably see me because I spend so much money on Google for the ads, and then you just register for the course. I know with you guys. So I've been teaching since like 2007, I
Okay.
think. So I taught at a different school, and then I opened up my school in 2014. And I know
We were trying to remember, how did
Yeah.
we even find him?
I was hoping that you would tell that part of the story, because I really don't remember how we found.
I know one day when I
Yeah.
was selling the salon, we were
Yeah.
like, what are we going to do? You were you bartending?
Yeah.
And, AJ and I have been good friends for years, and all of a sudden we're like, real estate, let's do it. We wouldn't do it if we weren't together.
No.
We must have just Googled.
Yeah, it's funny, because when people ask me how I got into real estate, when I tell them it was incredibly random, it really
So
was. And I
random.
feel like almost not hesitant to say it, but I'm like, no, me and a friend of mine just one day were like, let's get our real estate
Literally.
license. And I mean, obviously it was a good choice, but it was very random how it came into play. But
You know what? I think it's because we both lived in Shrewsbury, and when we Googled, we saw that he was in Shrewsbury.
Okay.
And we said,
a
"Nice,
local place.
let's do it."
Yeah.
It was right on Maple Ave. So,
Yep.
that was, I
Yeah.
mean, it couldn't have been more random.
Yeah, it was
We're
extremely
out probably
random.
having, dinner somewhere, and we
Yep.
said, all right, well, we're going to do it. So
Yep.
then we find Luis. Day one, again. Okay, so disclaimer, Luis is a saint, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank God we were in person. AJ, and it's no secret, AJ and I are very ADD, for those of you that know me, know we are. Siobhan is falling off her chair right now. So again, I was 39 years old at the time, hadn't been in college since, 1999, and I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
What was it, like 8 hours a day?
No.
I think it was 2 days a week, 4 hours at a time.
Whatever it was,
Yeah.
it felt
Right?
like.
Yeah.
Like it was Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Yeah.
but then it was like there was a morning and an afternoon class. Like
Right.
you could do like 8 to 12 or 4 to 9 or 4 to
Oh, that's right, we took
Four-
the day class,
4
that's
to 8,
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was because once COVID hit, everything became very virtual. But this was like very hands-on.
Thank
You had to
God.
be
It was-
there.
yeah.
And he forced us. Luis was engaging, and you'll see when you take his class. Very engaging,
Mhm.
very informative. But
Mhm.
again, when you have ADD
Yeah.
and you haven't been in school for a multitude of years, it is
Yeah.
a different world, and there's a lot of information.
There
And this
is.
also wasn't our field, so
No.
this is literally all brand new info that we had to, figure out how it was, what it was all about, and retain it.
Yeah.
So when someone Googles you and
Mhm.
signs up for a class, tell us all about, because I know, we talked about live but virtual.
Yep.
So tell us all about that now.
Well, obviously because of COVID, the state allowed us to go virtual,
Yep.
right? Which was great, because we were asking for this years, and they made it very, very difficult. But then they said, we're going to allow it. So what I did is, I know a lot of folks love the in-person, and I agree. I enjoy in-person. I think you connect more, with the students, and you get to some cool
Stories.
experiences and
as
stuff,
well.
right? So what I've done is that I teach the course virtually. However, it's live, meaning that you're on with me. So I'm on. It's nothing pre-recorded. I have a studio that I broadcast from, so it's a 4K quality image. It's not like a grainy, Zoom image that you're gonna get. So I'm on camera, and everyone has to have their cameras on, and then we engage. So and I think like even part of when we did the class before, there's a lot of stuff, but then we would like have like breakout sessions, and we
Yes.
would talk about the content and how you would apply it in different situations. And because I've been practicing real estate for almost 23 years now, I'm able to give you scenarios where you can utilize that information, where I think some other schools have a hard time with, because to be honest with you, some of these other instructors, like, they're not in the business. They just
Right.
they just read from the
Have the
book and
info.
Yeah.
here you go, but they have no idea how to really apply it.
Yep.
Remember, and this was probably many years before that, I took that weekend course.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God. Do you remember that?
No, but
Can I tell? I did it once.
Oh my God.
I did it when I was with George Russell.
Okay, that's
So I was with George Russell and I taught at his school. And back then the course was only 24 hours. It wasn't
Yes.
40
Mhm.
hours. So I said, I'm gonna do a weekend crash session, 2 days, 12 hours, like 8 to 8.
yeah.
Nuts. I'll be honest with you, when I was done, I gave everybody back their money. I'm like, listen, this was just way too much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. I didn't feel good about it.
At
Yeah.
all.
I'm like, here's a refund. If you want to come back, you have your certificate. I'm giving you a certificate for free.
Right.
You have it. If you want to come back and take the
Like
full
a refresher,
Yeah.
like,
course,
an
like the
actual.
way it's supposed to be taught,
Yeah.
you're welcome to do it, and you're good. But I would never do that again. I don't recommend
It
that at
was,
all.
I remember, so I used to own the juice bar at the gym, and this guy was a broker. He's like, you'd be so great at real estate. And I was like 25.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, take the weekend course, best thing ever. I rolled in the first day with my binder and my pen.
It's too much.
An hour in, I'm like, there is no friggin' way that I sat there the whole weekend. I left with this big binder of information, like
It's too
Siobhan's
much.
dying right now. It was the worst experience. I didn't even take the test. I was like, there is no point in me even attempting to sign up for this test. I have not retained one bit of
No.
information. It's especially when you have no knowledge of it.
Mhm.
I had only bought one house at that time. I didn't know anything about real estate. And then
Yeah.
sitting there for 12 hours a day.
Well, the biggest challenge I get now is that people watch these freaking shows, right?
I know.
HGTV, all
Yep.
this other
Yep.
stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to class.
Mhm.
I'm gonna learn about open houses, how to
Right.
decorate, all this other stuff," and that's exactly what you don't learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and I tell people from the beginning, I'm like, understand, this is rules, regulations.
Right.
It's like taking your SATs. Half the stuff we're gonna go over,
Yeah.
you will never.
I'm
ever
so glad that
touch.
you're no.
Yeah.
So
Right,
I was
wait for him
waiting
to
for
say
him
it.
to say this because I was like, I don't want him to think that I'm saying this and I shouldn't. But I specifically remember if there's anything. Well, there's a few things I remember from that class, but you saying, guys, like honestly, you need to just get through this. Like you need to. A lot of the stuff you're never going to use,
Yeah.
but you got to get through this. And I remember you saying that and being like, all right. I'm not going to really have to remember like all the time what riparian and littoral rights are
Yes.
and whatnot.
Freehold
Although I
estates.
remember those, but my point being,
Busted
but I remember them.
That's
So,
pretty good. That's
but and I
wow.
do remember them. But my point being, just get through it because most of this stuff. But you're right. There's the glorified TV stuff that we
Oh,
see.
with
It ruins
everything.
this industry in
right.
the sense
And that's
that.
not even real estate anyway, even after the test,
No.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
such a small portion of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
R for river, L for lake.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got
Yes.
it. See, I actually remember these
Yes.
two
Right.
things specifically, but.
I love
Good
that.
for you. That's awesome.
But that's, and that's when, again, TV
Yeah.
fantasizes all these things. Let's watch $1 Million Listing.
Yeah.
I'm going to become a real estate
Yeah.
agent and sell $1 Million properties.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
And it's damaging on the consumer side too. I was just reading an article about this, that consumers have a misconception of what realtors make, first of all.
Right.
Yes.
And what we do all day and what value we may or may not add. So
Right.
in a way, even though those are kind of fun shows to watch, they're damaging us in a
Right.
sense with our
Yeah.
customers.
Oh
Hence
yeah.
why we do the podcast
Exactly.
because
This is
literally
real life.
it's real life stories. Like I want to know, people want to know like where we started because so
100%.
many times I hear, I'm 35 years old and how am I going to change careers? Well,
Yep.
I was in the gym business, in
Yep.
the tanning business, and I was 39.
Mhm.
And I woke up and I was like, all right, let's go take the class and run with it. So
Yeah.
you're never too old, but you just have to realize real estate is a grind. So
is.
what you see on TV, just follow us because this is real life, and a day in the life of us, you'll see that
Yeah.
you know we definitely earned what we made.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So now, as far as the class, and we always talk about night before the exam and things like that. So your class is amazing, and you definitely give, which I appreciate, the real life stuff. Because when I took another class, I did like an online thing, and it was just YouTube videos, just monotone, you know, like the Charlie Brown teacher, and I'm like, there is no way again that I can sit here. It was like a refresher. It was the most boring, unexciting, like just I couldn't retain anything this person was saying. So your real life examples are literally, and I hope you continue to do those. And you know, obviously I haven't taken the class in a while, but give us like an example of like a class you're teaching tomorrow for a brand new person.
Right. So the way I teach the classes, again, it's live, so I'm there, right? And so I have PowerPoint presentations. The students, you're able to download exactly what I'm teaching from. So essentially, it's your ebook. Like it's all PDFs, every section. So you're able to download it, and I go through it. And then as we start going through the material, we pause. And then I start breaking things down, because there are some concepts that are kind of like what do you mean, right? And I can tell, and honestly, as an instructor, and I think people don't realize this with the whole Zoom like thing going on now. First of all, you have to have your camera on in my class in order to get your certificate. That's a requirement by the state, right? But that helps me determine if you're getting the information or not, right? Because if I'm teaching, because I see everyone, so I have multiple screens, like it's freaking nuts, right? What I have. So as I'm teaching, I look and I can see all the students. So if I see someone that's kind of like glazed over, I'm like, so then without even asking, I start breaking it down until I see, okay, right? And then they start writing.
Then
I'm
the
like,
wheels
okay, I got
start
it,
turning,
right? Because some people have they have a hard time just asking questions, things like that. But I gotta tell you, one of the reasons why I teach the way I do is because I remember when I took the course. Yeah. I literally sat in a room and watched this person read to me from a book.
Right? Why?
Yeah.
Just you can do that.
Word for word. And I remember I pleaded with him. I'm like, listen, please just give me the book. I'll read it myself. Right. I'll say I was here the entire time. I won't let you out. Right. Like you're killing me. Like I can't.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, if I ever opened up a school, if I was ever teaching real estate, I would never teach like that, because it's just, you don't get anything out
What's
of it.
What's the point?
Anyone can do that. You can tell anyone to teach a course and read from a book, but I think that you having hands-on experience makes a world of difference.
So what I offer for my students, which is different from any other school, is that, well, first of all, your certificate is good for 2 years. So when you complete the course, you have 2 years to actually take the exam. Don't wait
do
2 years.
No.
Listen,
do
2
it while
years
it's fresh.
They go by fast. And I've had people that have taken my course 3 times. That's 6 years, because they're like, oh, they keep putting it off, and then now your certificate expires, right? So your certificate is good for 2 years. I allow my students that if you're not ready to test right away, you can sit in on future classes up to 2 years at no additional cost.
That's great.
So I do that for my students.
Like any amount of classes?
Any amount of classes.
Wow,
so you do
that's
the 40 hours.
huge.
Yeah, you do the 40 hours, and then when you're done with that, you get your certificate.
Yep.
If you're not ready, and you're like, look, I want to sit in on fair housing, or even the whole thing again, just let me know. I'll send you the link, and there's no cost to do that.
Okay.
I actually did it for COVID. When COVID hit,
right.
Everyone was freaking out, and I went back to the folks that their certificate had expired.
Yep.
And I said, listen, at no cost, like, come back. You want to re-up your certificate? Let's just do it, right? It kept me busy and sane, because everyone was losing their mind because of COVID. And it was just good, right? And a few people actually, even with that, they got their license, they did what they had to do, and I was happy for that. But it was just, I don't know, I think for me it was a way of kind of giving back a little bit through a time where,
think about it. Someone doesn't necessarily want to, say they drop the ball or life happened, which it happens.
Yep.
Then they don't want to have to go pay another X amount of dollars, and then they're going to say, forget it, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Exactly.
And then they quit. And it's very easy to quit that, because you're not standing over them saying, did you book your test yet? Did you pass? Did you pass one?
Yeah, it's
and what if you only pass one part? They might want to come back and get a refresher on that part.
And I think that's the hardest part of real estate. And AJ, you guys can attest to that. Is that it's so different than a 9 to 5. In a 9 to 5, you have someone telling you every day,
Yeah.
this is what you need to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here are the expectations.
Yep.
And if you don't do this, you're going to get fired or,
Right.
or whatever.
So
right?
Consequences,
true.
right.
No, it's true through and through. And I always try to break that down for people because I know what people in our lives, they get frustrated with us because we're on our phones and all that. And they may sit there and say, like, we have incredibly hard jobs. We're there. And I'm like, totally understood. It's probably, I couldn't be an engineer. But
Right.
you essentially clock in at one time. And when you leave work, that you don't have to worry about that
Exactly.
within reason till the following day. It's constant on your mind. It's this. So while you may have a difficult job, I think it's nice to point that out because
Well,
we
you're-
know firsthand
You're
that
a
it's
business
not.
owner.
Yeah.
You own a business now
Mhm.
once you become an agent. So
Yeah.
it's you work harder
Yeah.
because it's for you.
Yep.
You know?
Every time we talk, on these podcasts, I always say, I never wanted to work 9 to 5. I could never do it. That's good. And now, I work literally 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., but it's on my own time. And that's one of the biggest things that I love. And again, being self-employed for so long, I could never do it. I'm not knocking 9 to 5ers. Siobhan came from corporate. She had to be in Boston at a certain time. She could leave at a certain time. But when she left, she left. I'm sure you did extra. But when she left, she came, had an hour commute home.
Yeah.
Here, that's why real estate's so amazing. But again, it is a grind and it is a constant hustle. And you're right. Last show we talked about partners understanding what our life is all about. And, a client might get home from work at 7 o'clock at night and they have a question. Of course they're going to come to you.
Yeah.
They're trusting you to help them through this process. So we have to be available.
Yeah, and not everything is time pressed and imperative. And I think again, talking about being in the lives of people who do real estate.
Yep.
No, but an ADD person like myself or you, if I don't get to this right away, then it's gone.
Right.
So yeah, it can be frustrating to be around it, but it's a grind.
Exactly. So just so people
Constant
understand
grind.
that, you have to take a 40-hour class from an accredited agency, and obviously people want to go to Champion Real Estate
Yep.
Academy because you're local too, and you've been in business for so many years. We actually passed the test, which we're going to talk about as well. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's a running joke.
But you have a lot of people, I should say, under your belt that have taken your course that
ton.
have become good realtors.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's must feel nice to you to have that little.
It does, and honestly, it's all relationships, you know.
Yeah.
And I know I've actually, it's helped me with some of my buyers because I still practice real estate too, where my relationship with other agents have actually benefited my buyers because the agent wanted to work with me because they
Right.
understood
Yep.
that I've already prepped my buyer, I've coached my buyer, they understand what they're getting,
Yes.
when they're working with me. So
Yep.
no, I love it, and that started me with my project that I'm doing with the school,
Yeah.
where I'm interviewing the champions of Champion Real Estate Academy,
Yeah.
right?
Love
I know I had AJ, you're coming on
Yep.
soon, and I really want to just kind of tell a little bit about people's story because what I find is that everyone had a different reason on why getting into real estate, but their path, like their journey, there are a lot of commonalities there, right?
Yeah.
And part of it is where, we were stressed about the exam. We didn't really realize how time consuming it was going to be,
Right.
Understanding systems and things like that and how to use that and leverage that, for your business. But there's other folks that have different ideas. Like, we have agents that, listen, you can call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll pick up the phone. Then we have other agents that, listen, 7 o'clock, I'm shut down, see you later. Like,
Right.
but then you start looking at the income level. Okay, well, if you do this, guess what?
Yeah.
Well, you're not making as much as this person. But there's a give and take. You have to, balance that. But I'm excited about the videos, and you
I
guys,
can't wait to
you
see
start seeing them. They're trickling. I got one coming out today, so. It's
I
gonna-
love
it's
real
gonna be
life stories. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the reasons we bring people in from so many different offices. Obviously our journey started with you. We liked you as a person. We liked you as, an educator. We looked up to you as a veteran. We affiliated with Exit when you were there. Obviously our paths went different. Our paths went different. And the fact that we're all still friendly, it's, you're going to build lifelong relationships here. No matter what journey you're on. And I always say, I don't
Have
care
to.
who you work for.
Yeah.
Like, you're not my competition. You're not
Right.
my competition. Like, I hope everybody's successful. There's
Yeah.
plenty to go around.
But
It's a
some
small
people.
world.
It
Right,
is.
Yeah.
right. As big as this industry is, I always say it is so
It's
small.
very small. Your
But some
reputation's
agents take it
everything.
to another level. Like it's almost like a few good men, right? It's like
Right,
you
right.
can't handle like that fighting. Like,
Yeah.
and I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, you took a 40-hour class just like me
Right.
to get licensed. Yeah, you just got to be 18 years or older. That's it. No college degree, no high school diploma is not
Yep.
even required to get your license. Just 18, complete the 40 hours, and don't owe any state taxes. That's it. That's
Yeah.
state wants their money.
Right.
Yeah.
So calm down. We got to play nice in the sandbox.
Exactly.
That's it, right?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now to AJ, and we're gonna get back into
Sure,
that
sure.
as well. So, like as far as your story previously,
Yeah.
what did you do before real estate? Now that you're in real estate, I don't want to ask you too many questions at once.
No, it's all right.
But I like to see where you came from. Obviously, I know, but everyone
Yep.
else doesn't.
Yeah. The service industry, I had always served and bartended. That's what I did for years. I mean, I had a little bit of college under my belt, moved to Florida, lived down there. But I was always in the service industry. So, I mean, I got good at having relationships with
Right.
people. I'm from this area originally, so just one thing that I think I really strive to do is always have good relationships. Love meeting new people, love networking,
Yep.
but bartending really gave me that avenue to do that
You're a
so well.
therapist as a bartender.
100%.
You know, when I bartended, I mean, I would know. Oh, there's John. He's getting
Yep.
divorced. Oh, here's so and so.
Yeah,
You know everybody's story.
100%.
And good bartenders, good realtors understand people's stories
Yes.
and help facilitate whatever journey that they're on.
For
so,
sure. Yeah, if you pinpoint exactly what it is going on in someone's mind or their life that they need, whether it be coaching through, whether it's a real estate transaction or just counseling of some sort, if you really hone in on what they're looking for and give them that, then you're the hero at the end of the day.
I will laugh
It's
about
true.
the class. So again, AJ and I were definitely the class. I mean, I could literally see it in that conference room.
Yeah.
AJ's at the end. I'm to the right of him every single day. We didn't move seats.
No.
We were so like, God bless you.
Yeah.
Never.
I mean, it takes a special person, let's be honest.
I mean, if we were ever on Zoom, I mean, I can just hear Lewis now, like, Andrea, AJ, you guys
Yeah.
here? Like, my dogs
Yeah.
would be in the background, AJ would be doing
Enough,
whatever.
enough.
So, again, you have to find someone that will keep you engaged. And I mean, obviously, we recommend everybody to Lewis. But
Yeah.
the story is when we all took the test,
Yep.
everybody passed it,
Yeah.
and which was amazing. And I
Yeah.
don't think you've ever had that before.
I've never. It was 12. It was 12 students, and everyone passed
on the first time,
try.
which is for
Which
those
is-
of you,
yeah.
do not be devastated if you fail the first time, because
Correct.
a lot of people don't pass or pass both portions.
Yeah, look, and if you fail, it's usually by a couple of
Right.
points, and it's just you overthought the question. You
Yeah.
know.
But you did say, I wonder if there was a glitch with PSI where
There's
somehow
no
you-
way all these
Like
schmucks
everybody
passed at
just,
once.
It was just like
PSI had a down
We'll
system.
laugh about PSI got hacked and somehow
Yeah.
AJ and I
There's
passed
no
the first
way.
time, so we're gonna run with
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
we're not going back.
We'll
Yeah.
take it. We'll
Yeah.
take
But people also understand there's two portions to the test.
There is. So there's a national portion and there's a state. So the entire exam is 120 questions. You get 80 questions on the national, which means that in every state in the United States, that portion of the exam is the same for every state. And then you have state specific stuff. So and that's 40 questions. The cool thing about Massachusetts is that we are reciprocal with Connecticut and Rhode Island. So if you get a Massachusetts license, you can get your Connecticut license and Rhode Island license just by paying the fees. You don't have to take the exam again. I think Rhode Island you have to take like a lead paint class,
Yep.
but you don't have
And that's
to.
not-
It's just like a
And that's
Corey,
online.
it's like a
Yeah.
Corey check, a fee. It's
Right.
very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah, they
simple.
want their application fees. New Hampshire,
Yes.
I think you have to take their
You
state
have to take the
portion.
state portion.
But you've already done the national, right?
Right.
So at least it's only half the educational
Yep.
requirement.
Right. So now that you've been in real estate, we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out because it's going on 8 years in
Yeah,
September.
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. Which is
Give
crazy.
us the good, bad, the ugly from your point of view, from where you started and where you are now.
I mean, things have been going great the past 4 or 5 years, however long. I'd say forever, but I
you
mean,
just won an award, right?
yeah, I did. I mean, in 2022, I did 50 transactions and had the highest sales volume for my office, which is great. But it really does. Again, I know we sit there and say just pass the exam, but it really helps because from square one, you really need something to get started with,
Yes.
and it speaks measures about yourself. But yeah, real estate has been great. I think it's so important to let people know that it isn't all flashy and whatnot because there's so much to it, and it is a lot of work. People see the good aspects of it. They see that you post closings and they see you start doing positive, fun, good things in your life and whatever it may be, vacations. And I find myself hesitating a lot like on what I do post because I try not to post the bad because you don't want to post the bad, but there is a lot of background stuff that goes into that, and it's like, I want to give people the motivation and the encouragement to go and make a change in their life and do it because it's absolutely possible. I have definitely been that person who sat there and has been in a new brokerage and said there's no way I'm ever going to be this top producer. Like these people are killing it. I either don't have the time, the energy, the effort, a number of things. You kind of talk yourself out of it, but there's no question that, like you said, no high school diploma, no
Right.
this. Anyone can do it, but
Anybody.
it's effort.
Right.
It's effort.
It is building a solid foundation. We'll show the bad. Next week we're going to be
Oh, I love
knocking down a
this.
shed, cleaning out all these
Live? Like, not live, but like on
I'll
video?
video that.
Actually, we should video it.
So
You
that-
should.
But those are the things. So we have a seller that does not want to do any work to a property. We're getting into closing. It's an FHA loan. Certain things came back. He said, nope, I want to put it back on the market. We're like, wait a minute, we're this close. We only have a little long, but
Good for
it's so you know what we said, screw it. We're gonna go. We're gonna knock it down, throw everything in the dumpster, do everything that needs to get done because that's what you do.
That's
I mean,
huge.
I've painted people's basements.
Mhm.
We've done cleanup. I mean, there's so much
Huge.
ugly that people
Not
don't
glamorous,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not glamorous at all. I mean, I could get into it for days.
Yeah.
There's a reason we don't post that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
But
know,
you know what?
right?
I am going to post that because, again, when you are a good agent, you go above and beyond.
You do
Some
what it
agents
takes.
would say, screw it, go back on the market, fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But our job is to explain to the seller, if you're going back on the market, if you didn't have multiple offers the first time
Yeah.
and the market has changed so dramatically, why would you play Russian roulette and take that chance?
Questions of why is it going back on
Right,
the market?
right.
I mean, it just opens a can of worms that you
So
don't
now
wanna
we're going
do.
to put our boots on,
But
get our sledgehammers.
not every agent would do what you're doing,
They
so
wouldn't.
that's awesome.
I mean, I see it
truth
all the
be told.
time. Like, you're this close.
Yeah.
And people might think I act like a princess, but look, we're going to be down and dirty and we're going to get it done.
When
But
she
you know-
says we, I don't think it's going to be her. Let's be very
Wanna
clear
bet?
here.
I mean, I probably will video part of the time, but I'm
Siobhan video of her
Siobhan will.
doing this.
I'll be there with a sledgehammer. I won't
Okay,
have time.
all
She
right.
knows I
Well.
can be a beast for that stuff.
Okay,
No, absolutely.
all right.
Well, that's the thing, right? At the end of the day, you get out of real estate what you put in.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are parts that are more fun and more glamorous,
Yep.
and there are times when you're in the rain, pounding your sign into the ground,
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to find a part that's not all ledge.
Anything.
Yeah.
Cars splashing you on the way
Exactly.
by.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And
you're
that's
right.
what we say to like any agents that we hire. Once you get a contract signed, you're already thinking about what you're going to make for a commission.
Mhm. Yeah.
That is the wrong mentality. That is Z.
Right.
You're at A. You
Mhm.
have all these steps to go through.
Yeah.
And when you go above and beyond for your clients, they're going to remember that. So when they say, hey, my
So
cousin's
true.
selling, my sister's selling, call AJ, call Lewis. There's so many ways to build a solid business.
Yeah.
And agents that have worked for me in the past that are all just commission driven, I can't tell you how many times the clients have said, I just feel like this person wants a commission. I don't feel like, I'm their priority.
Yeah.
And they
And
don't last.
They don't last,
No.
exactly. And when we have a ton of clients, our main goal is to make them feel like they're our only client. And
Yeah.
if you don't have that mentality
Yep.
and you're just worried about the bottom line, what you're going to get paid,
No,
you need
it's
to
so true.
reevaluate,
No.
what.
And it's very easy, especially as you start to get more and more business, it's very easy to get lost in that because
course.
you're like, I have these referrals coming in, but I promise you, if you don't stay to the basics and continue to do those
Yep.
every day, okay, well, like you said, I'm at step A, I need to slowly work to Z, you'll very quickly start to slip and get less referrals because you start dropping the
course.
ball on those important things, which is the relationship building.
100%.
Just a fact.
And that's why working with like-minded people,
Yep.
we know our weaknesses. They
Mhm.
might be different from Lewis's. We know our strengths. So
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for Siobhan
Yeah.
pulling all the weight behind the scenes. That is not our forte. And I
No,
can say
no,
it straight,
But
let
likewise,
someone be the expert.
Right.
Let
Siobhan
someone.
doesn't want to be
I
out there.
don't- right.
No, no,
Doing
but then
it.
let
It works out
people
perfectly on both ends. Let's be very clear
let
here.
people focus on the things that they're good at.
Plain
You're,
right,
you're
right,
absolutely
we say it
right.
all the time,
And that's how you scale.
But again, in regards to what we're talking about today, I think it all starting with someone who you've been through the trenches.
Right.
You know this, and I think that people having real life stories
Yep.
of what this business entails, and let me give you a real life example. I think that works magic.
Yep.
I just do. I think that's why
100%.
it's so important to be at a place because no matter which way you look at it, I just need to get through this pre-license course to take the exam.
Yep.
Well, true, but wouldn't you like to have had someone that can sit there and give you some
Right.
horror stories and
Right.
this?
And he was always there to answer our questions outside of class.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, when I was at Exit, I sat there by myself. You'd come in and you'd work, and I'm sitting there like, I don't even know how to write an offer, and I'm going to tell the story till the day I die. And you're always there. And a lot of veteran agents have their own business.
Yep.
They don't want to take the time for some new agent to
Mm-mm.
walk through how to write an offer that he learned 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So, building a solid foundation in this business is crucial. And it starts with Lewis, at Champion Real Estate Academy. That's number one. And then finding a brokerage, because again, that is a long-term relationship.
Yep.
And you may go through a few. I mean, we've gone through a few, and you find out what you like, what you don't like, and, that's why you're where you're
Yeah.
at. You know,
Yeah.
they're gonna pull up on your weaknesses and help polish your strengths.
100%.
That's why I opened my own place, because you guys know how I work, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I work better
Well,
running
you're
my
the
own
perfect
business.
example of someone who should have their own business because you have your own way of working and
Right,
it
right.
works for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with people shopping around. I
Of
mean,
course.
at the end of the day, you're the asset. They're hiring you. You're the person who's going to be bringing in money. But make sure that where you're going is a fit.
100%.
I think that that's a lot of
That's
what a lot of
very
people do.
important, yeah.
You know.
So I've actually included that as part of my course now.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, so at the end, I get into how to interview brokers.
Yep.
Like, what are some
Smart.
of the things that you should? Because listen, if you're not in the industry, you have no idea what this world looks like
Yeah.
and what questions you need to be asking when you're talking to a broker. Because listen, the reality is, and I tell the students, when you interview with brokers, you're typically interviewing with either their recruiter,
Right.
right, or some cheerleader that's going to be there and is going to highlight all the good things about the company.
Right.
But you won't know the ugly until you're in. But then it costs you money already, right? Because
Exactly.
now you paid your if you join a franchise, you're paying your franchise fee right up front. They want that day one.
Yep.
Then you get your business cards, your branding, you're doing all this other stuff. So you're into it for for some money before you decide like, oh man, maybe this wasn't the right
Right.
place, right?
Yeah.
So I get in. I tell people all the time, like, look, even if you think you know where you're going, and I told you guys to interview 3 different brokers. See what's out there, know what you're getting into before you get into it. And and I tell agents, because even though I practice and I'm with a company too, I'm like, listen, if you take the course with me, I'm not expecting you to come and work with me
Right.
at the end. My goal is for you to get your license, and then you make an informed decision on what's best for you.
Yep.
And I'm always here. Like I will always be around. So and you know this, like
Totally.
even from other agents, from other companies who reach out to me, Lewis, I got a question about something. What do you think about this? And they run stuff by me all the time.
Yep.
I might be limited because listen, I don't work for your broker, so you have to follow your broker's rules. But I
Right.
can give you at least the basics of where you need to be looking for to answer that question. So
I'm glad you made that point, because it's important, because a lot of times people think if I take the class with Lewis, I have to go work with him.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I really respected about you, is that it wasn't a recruiting session.
Yeah.
And you are right. Like when people come
Yeah.
and interview with me, I always say, if this is the first brokerage you interviewed at, I'm going to tell you and ask Elise. She came on and I said, I'm not going to overpromise and underdeliver to you. I'm going to tell you what it's. Yeah.
So Elise was actually because Elise took my class too. So
Yeah.
this is when I was in the Higgins Armory.
That's right.
Up
That's
there.
right. Yep.
And I remember we had a conversation.
I didn't even know you were there.
Yes. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
After us?
So when I left Exit. I went to Auburn.
Yep.
So I opened up the
That's
school in
right.
Auburn at the
Yep.
exit over there. And then when he turned to Lux,
Yep.
and Tracy said, I'm like, I'm just going on my own.
Yep. Yep.
And I opened up Homestrong.
Okay.
And that
That's
was
right,
and
that's
that was at the Higgins Armory, and
Okay.
that's where I learned that I didn't want to be a broker. How much work is
Yeah.
involved in being a broker and an instructor? Like, are you
Yeah.
crazy? Like, I couldn't do both.
Broker and owner and
Listen,
Right,
and
right.
everything, like it was just
Gender
way
and all that,
like
right.
I didn't want to do it. So Elise took my class, so she was there, and I remember she had interviewed some brokers, and she talked to me and she was like, look, I interviewed these few people and I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. I said, well, Andrea, Shrewsbury, Andrea Castanetti, she's like, yeah, go talk to her. I think you'll be a good fit there. She goes, really? Why do you think? I said, well, look, I know Andrea. You guys are similar, like in personalities and what you're doing and your style. I think you guys would hit it off.
Yep.
So she's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And here she is, like,
Right.
so.
And you
Here
knew
we
her
are.
ahead of
Yeah,
time,
Lisa's,
too.
we went
Yep.
to high school together. She's
Yep.
great. So I think.
And she came in and I was like, listen, I'm real. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
it
going
was-
to be this big cheerleader, all these things. Like, this is real life. I'm going to tell you the good, bad, the ugly. I might have sworn a few times, and she respected that. And she
Mhm.
said, you know what, I want to join. So,
Yep.
finding that perfect fit, and it might not be right off the bat, but I always say, interview at a few places if you're going to come see me.
Yeah.
Ask the appropriate questions. I'll tell you what to ask, and
Yep.
then see where you're the most comfortable. That's important.
Yeah.
So-
Different personalities need different
I agree.
different grounds, and I mean, you have a very loyal team, and
Yeah,
if they weren't
yeah.
happy, they wouldn't
Thank
be
God for
here.
that. Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you can walk out whenever you
Right,
want.
right.
So
And that's one thing
those
I want
things
to
speak for
Sure.
themselves. You
That's
know what
important.
I mean?
I don't want to just have 100 agents running around where I can't control anything, and it's
Yeah.
chaotic. I want
Yep.
to have a core group of people that I know. If I call, hey, I need X, Y, Z, they're going to be right there to do it, and
100%.
vice versa.
Yep.
I mean, they're compensated well, and it goes back and forth, and we have a very unique
Yes.
office here, which I
Yep.
can't complain
Listen,
with.
I gotta tell you, the biggest challenge right now, I think, for all brokerages or for agents,
Yep.
is culture.
Right.
Like there isn't. There's a lack of culture in a
Yep.
lot of these brokerages, and we've had this conversation,
All the
and I think it's attributed to agent capping, right? Which you have to kind of like. It's what the industry has changed to.
Yeah.
But that has shifted the culture of brokerages
Right.
and how much a broker is willing to offer to their agents.
Yep.
But again, it's a testament to you because even with the systems and stuff that you have in place, your brokerage, you've grown.
Yeah.
I mean, you're opening up now a third or fourth location.
Almost, yeah, going
Like
forward.
it's just from where you were nervous about renting this one spot. I remember we had that conversation
Yeah,
too,
I know.
and you're like, Lewis, should I? And I'm like, freaking do it. Like,
Right.
look, just
I literally
just do
called
it.
you
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a good idea. If you're gonna do this and you can do it, I mean, just
I
go.
forgot that you're
And-
literally one of the ones
yeah.
I called you first.
And,
Yeah.
But she
and-
hires the right people and
and
she
here
lets
you
them do their job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think a lot of, like you said, if the broker's not investing back in their people, then their people have no reason to invest in them, right?
Correct.
We
Yeah.
invest in Andrea because she invests in
You
us.
won't
Right.
skimp when you know there's something.
No,
Like you're
I don't
good
skip
about
ever,
that.
right.
Yeah.
She doesn't skip
It's
off.
important because we also know if you're bringing in money or if you're a part of a team and you're loyal, like you want to be recognized, you want to be compensated, you want to be taken care of. Like, unfortunately, I felt like I'm bringing all this money into this office and no one could care less about me. I was just a number, and I never just want to be a number. Whether you bring in $1 to the office or 20 million a year, like I'm going to treat you all the same.
Yeah.
And I just think that's me. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
But if you want to have successful relationships, and I'm a relationship builder. When I owned my juice bars or ran gyms and did all that stuff, I can talk to these people from 20 years ago, and they're like, oh my god, So relationship building and trust, I say it literally every single podcast.
So if I could, right?
Yeah.
So there's
You can.
there's similarities between what you do and Anthony, right? And Lamaki, because I talk about Lamaki too in the class, because people ask me, and I'm like, look, this is like
Yeah.
I've met Anthony. I know a lot of agents that have been there.
Yep.
This is some of the systems that he does, and this would be a benefit for you if you're
Yeah.
this type of person.
Yes.
This is why you would probably want to interview with him. But when you look at it, right, I think what's very similar between you two is that he takes the time to recognize his agents.
Totally.
Yeah.
You take the time to recognize your agents.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at that growth, it's like, okay, I can see that, right?
Yeah.
And I think agents today, they know that culture is lacking, and they're willing to pay for it,
Yeah.
right? Right? To a certain extent, like
Yeah.
not like you're breaking the bank to do that,
Right.
Yeah.
but they understand the value in, okay, so maybe I'm not capping at this number, or I may not
Correct.
be capping at all,
Yeah.
but this is what I'm getting on the back end,
Yeah.
and this helps me produce more and become
100%.
a better agent.
Could I have what I have without what I
Correct.
have in
Right.
place? And that's what you have to level because,
That's
as we all know, there's a lot of people who get blind to commission splits, and they
Right.
say, "I'm going in and it's a 95-5 split or whatever it is, and I cap out at this," and I'm like, "That's great, but
Where's your support?
where's the business coming in? Where's your support?" Because at the end of the day, I don't know, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing, and you have to think about that because it's at least getting your feet off the ground. You have to learn what you're doing. You have to start getting that business going, and until then, it's just a split's a split
I think
until
the
you.
biggest mistakes out there right now are 100% brokerages.
100%. Yes.
That, like, in my opinion, it is the worst thing for an agent,
Worst.
because the broker is forced to look at you as a number.
Right.
Yeah.
There is nothing invested for that broker to help you grow
Yeah.
because they're not making any money. If anything, you're costing them money. So they're charging you a transaction fee or whatever it is that they're charging you, but you're on your own.
Yep.
So if you want to spend thousands of dollars in hiring a real estate coach and do all that stuff on the back end, knock yourself out. But
Yep.
I think you're going to be very lonely,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and who knows if you're actually practicing the right way. You're going to spend a lot of money before you realize you made a
Exactly.
mistake.
Right.
How many people quit in their first year in real estate?
Oh my God, so many.
Good question. Is there like a stat to that? That's a good question. Did we stump
NRA
him?
has that,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tell you
NAR.
firsthand.
No, yeah.
NAR.
Speaking of guns.
That's-
NAR, yeah. I want to say it's something like 80% or 70%.
Oh, wow.
It's way more than 50, I'll tell you
Look,
that.
I'll be honest with you. I've met brand new agents that could have been rock star agents. They were just in the wrong place.
Yes.
And the thing is, there's only so many mentors to go around. Like I mentor where I'm at, and people that come work with me, I mentor them, and that's a value that they get for
Yeah.
working with me.
It's fine.
but it is very time consuming,
Yeah, of
especially when it's 11 o'clock. Well, we were talking about this, right?
Yeah.
The Super Bowl. What am I doing for the Super Bowl? I'm helping somebody write up an offer
That's
while
right.
we're watching the Super Bowl.
That's
Like,
right.
like that's the stuff that happens. So, you know, it's yeah, it is time consuming. But listen, I've seen that new agents, they're in a huge company,
Yep.
and they're just a number.
Right.
And it's like, go watch a video.
Yeah.
Go watch a video and let me know how you make out,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Oh, that was explained in the video. Well, you know, videos help to a certain extent,
Yeah.
but you need that one-on-one. You need
course.
someone that you can actually call and let's do that. But yeah,
But those stats are definitely high.
no, they
it's-
are. They,
Even my first year, you know, I went all in. You know, and I was like, I'm not gonna have a part-time job. I'm gonna do this 100%.
yeah, but you're great. But you're driven, and
Right.
and that's the thing. It's like if you have that drive.
Well,
Right.
she's
you
one of
can
the
do it.
exceptions
Yeah.
to the rule for sure.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talk about self.
Well, your background
starters.
makes you
Yeah.
completely different because you just know how to run a business.
Right. So for,
So-
I mean, but I'm, you know, money wise, you know, I spent $30,000 in savings just to survive my first year.
Yeah.
So that's another thing people have to realize because not everybody can go all in. You know, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids. It was just me, and
Yeah.
luckily I had to save, you know, savings. People that go in part time, it's like, of course they're gonna quit.
Yeah.
If they don't have the support,
stressful.
they don't have a mentor, they're not, you know, your first year you're not making money. You're trying to build a solid foundation, build a portfolio. You know, there's so many
Constant doubt. Is this going to
Constant,
work? Is this
right.
going to work?
things. And then
Does
if you have
this business
fees on
work?
top of it,
Well, there's no
forget
direction.
it. Right.
And I think that, and I tell my students, I'm like, listen, you have to understand, day one, I tell them, you are starting a business.
Right.
So you have to not, if there's any advice I can give you is that you want to learn how to become a business owner. Because that
Exactly.
means that your actions, that's where you're going to get your money.
Right.
I can give you all the tools in the world, and I have. I've given you, you want to know? Here it is.
Yeah.
Here's the blueprint. This is how to become a top producer. Do it.
Right.
And then it's like, well,
Yeah,
well,
right.
you know, what are you going to do? I can't do it for you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Here's
right.
the blueprint.
Of
And
course.
and we get into that because it's like, they're like, well, listen, Lewis, you know, I'm looking at this broker, I'm looking at this broker, and they're promising me that. I go, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. All the systems are almost exactly the same.
Right.
Some brokers tweak it a little bit, they put a little spin on it, but at the end of the day, it's all going to be how driven are you? If you're a go-getter, if you're going to be aggressive, if you're going to be driven and do it, then go. Then yes, you will become successful. But if you're waiting for somebody to feed you
Right.
and to just be like, hey, how you doing? That's not happening.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, even in the best brokerages, that's not. You have to actually do your part.
Exactly.
And then your broker or the people that are there will recognize you
Yes.
and say, okay, now it's worth my time,
Right.
to spend time with you because I know you're actually going to do something with it. Because that's the
Of
biggest
course. How many
challenge that
times
you
do you
have.
listen,
Oh,
when we
goodness.
work together, spinning your wheels. And even when I feed
Yeah.
you, if you do not have that mentality to say, oh my God, this is on a silver platter,
Right.
gift wrapped, I'm going to run with this,
Yep.
then you're not in the right place.
You know?
Mhm.
If I even had a rental lead when I first started, I was like, let's go. I mean, I've
Yeah.
shown
Yeah.
hundreds of rentals.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different ways
Mhm.
to be successful here, but you have to be a self-starter and self-motivated to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Especially when you see so many people cycle in and out, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to invest in the people who are committed to making it work in the long run.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a flash in the pan and not do the work,
Yeah.
we're then
Yeah.
we're not going to.
Some people think they're too good for it at first.
Right.
Like, I'm
Right.
not. You know, it's
I don't
true,
do
though.
rentals.
Yeah.
I built my
Oh,
business
right.
on rentals, and you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah,
so
same. And getting to work right away is the most important thing, whatever brokerage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the test is the test. It's a lot of vocab. You have to get through it.
Yeah.
You have to, you have to get through over that hurdle. The whole first year though is doing the work, meeting the other
Constant
agents,
grind,
learning
right.
how to be accessible to agents and to your clients and to everyone else.
Yep.
So if you don't jump right in or find a brokerage that's going to put you to work, you're going to end your year just like you began it with no volume.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
100%.
speaking of reunions,
I
Kwame
know-
just
I know,
walked
yeah,
in,
I
so
know.
this is definitely where it all began. So I'm psyched to have you guys. So any last minute, people need to know where to find Champion number
Sure.
one.
Yeah, so online, championrealestateacademy.com. Just Google it, or you can reach out to me, Louis Garcia. You can Google that too. I'm on Instagram as Big Lou the Realtor, but you know,
Love
whatever
it.
whatever works. But reach out, and if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to go over the process with you. And yeah,
We'll have all your contact info
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
Any last
100%.
minute tips?
No, I mean honestly, what I said was what I said. It was a very, very random start to real estate, but obviously it's been great. But you know, this was really just based around how people get started, and I think they got all the information here. So everyone, best
But
of
I
luck.
gotta say, I mean, it is really awesome, like to see what you're doing because again, I remember you guys from
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
The whole water bottle and the whole thing, right? Like so from those moments, and then now I see you like you're in a suit, you're looking good, you're out there. 'Cause there was a couple of showings that I saw you there with your clients,
Yeah.
and I was there with some of the folks, and now you're being recognized for volume and transactions, and it's like, wow, like
It must be
as an
cool to see
instructor,
that,
it's cool.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
would
do.
love
gotta
that.
be.
I really, I enjoy seeing my former students do well and excel, because I'm like, for me, it's like that was worth my time. Like, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
And if
You're doing
I
it
did
for a
this,
reason.
yes. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was wondering if when we were in class you said these two are never gonna make
He
it.
definitely thought
These
that.
two are screwed.
If
He's
these
like, if
clowns can do it, anybody can do it.
That percentage of people that drop out of real estate first year,
Right.
Yeah.
this
And
is
here
them.
we are
This
today.
is them. So
Well,
yeah.
this has been awesome.
Thanks
so,
for having us.
Louis Garcia, eXp Realty, Champion Real Estate Academy, AJ Bruce, Lamacchia Realty. I'm Andrea Castanetti. Thanks for tuning in, guys.